Welcome back into WDHN Daytime, where this morning we're joined by Aaliyah Trooper Kendra McKinney talking about crime victims' rights in the Wiregrass in Alabama. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem.
So first of all, I think you deal with crash victims for the most part. And I think one of the biggest things is what's the number one cause that you see that leads to someone becoming a victim of a crash?
So mainly driving over the speed limit, distracted driving, driving under the influence. Those are our, top three main causes of what we're seeing in crashes around the area.
Now, with victims who are in these car crashes, what types of support do you guys provide for them, after going through these crashes?
So we try to be as supportive as we can while we're on scene, try to not just go up there as we're just going through the motion. At the end of the day, like you said, they're still victims. So we try to be professional and care for them in a way that we can to be able to give them the proper information that they need in that time, because it's so hectic and everyone's, in panic mode, because the first thing they're worried about, oh, am I at fault? Is it my fault? And they want to tell their story. So we try to remain professional, and then after the fact, when everything happens, we reach out, check on them if they're at the hospital. We travel to the hospital to get as much information as we can and just show them that we're there being supportive.
And we were just talking about training just a second ago before we came back on air. What type of training kind of goes into that? Is it something that you just kind of have to learn on the job, or is there any type of way that it's instilled, like, hey, this is a protocol to follow?
So we do have 2 weeks of accident investigation training when we go to the academy. However, it's just you as a general person. When you go on FTO, what does your FTO teach you when you're following them and you're watching them and seeing how they do things and how they handle the situation? So with time, you try to put yourself in their shoes and they've been in this situation. They're probably already a little intimidated because the police are here. So we just try to make them feel personal at the end of the day.
Now, are there any, improvements that you want to see in the future at some point in the system when it comes to really providing that support and helping, these victims after these crashes, sometimes even fatal crashes?
Right. Really just the training. The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency tries to provide us with as much training as we can to be able to respond to the people in that situation. Be personal with them. We get it, you have a job to do, but still be relatable, because it's an intense situation, and especially when you're dealing with a fatality, sometimes the media has more information than we do at the time, and family starts to show up, everyone wants answers, so we just try to remain professional at all times and just sharing as much information as we can and just try to be relatable.
So when you talk about sharing information and trying to gather as much as you possibly can, of course that'll help the investigation and lead to what the root cause is, but do you ever run into a situation where emotions are running high? You got a lot going on, obviously a crash has just happened, where some people just feel like they don't want to be quite trustworthy with law enforcement? Where does that problem kind of come in these investigations?
Usually in the fatalities, or if it's just a property type vehicle crash, you have some folks that don't want to give off the information, we try to just talk them through it, like, hey, we get it, you're upset, you're a little hesitant, you're reserved, don't want to have that conversation with us, but we're here for you. We're here to help you. We're here to properly investigate it. I mean, at the end of the day, the insurance companies are the ones that have to do their investigation as well. So we just try to get everyone to understand that we're not the bad guy in the situation. We're here to help them.
Right, and it's always best just to be truthful.
That's
it.
Always tell the truth.
Mama said don't lie.
Yeah, always be truthful and remain calm too, and especially in those types of situations.
Absolutely.
Always remain calm.
It seems to always be something to learn, but we just appreciate you coming on Daytime and telling us a little more about it.
Anytime, I'm glad to be here.
All right, keep it here on Daytime, though. We do have a lot more news and weather to get into. 11:30 is your time as we're working live at Troy right now. It is 69 degrees outside. We're going to be right back.